Previously on JetpackRetro.
We have just hit 200 subscribers.
How have you been? Still having nightmares, guilt, still feeling the pain of how broken you truly are.
No, that's unpopular. You have no idea what it's like to be trapped, not knowing what your show even is anymore. Dude, I was just asking if you wanted some popcorn. A person that doesn't really understand many instances that have to do with scars, causes. Shut the fuck up! No!
Now back on JetpackRetro.
No! No, I don't want to do it. Well, because then what does it change? You know, when we started JetpackRetro, do you even remember what the show was about? The show was a comedy show comedically reviewing old commercials from back then. Enjoying our nostalgia, just doing all sorts of jokes having to do with the old classic commercial we don't get anymore. No! Because then it seems you kind of just like switched it to just me reviewing like whatever it is that seems to do like really well or some shit. You know what? Fine. Yeah, fine, I'll do it. But after this, I'm going back to doing that. No, I'm settled, alright? After this, JetpackRetro is going back to just classic comedic commercial reviews again. After this, I'm going back to just taking a look at old commercials. Because I need a break, man. Alright, I'm done. Alright, bye. Alright, welcome back to another episode of JetpackRetro. Now yes, today we got another topic that I guess I'm taking a look at today. Today we are taking a look at, I know you've been waiting for this. Whew, this has been a big one. Rumble Roses XX. Now I won't lie, when I first saw this game, I was intrigued. When you have a wrestling game made by the legends that are Yucks games themselves, or Ukes if you call them, how am I not to bite at this? The sequel to the original Rumble Roses game, it's not that bad. It does tweak a few... Angry Feeling Nerd the book. Now, I remember when I saw the video for this book when he announced it, and yeah, being the fan of Angry Nerd I am, yeah, of course I jumped at it. I mean, no joke, this book was given to me as a Christmas gift right after it came out. And I won't lie, it was a pretty good gift. The book's not horrible, but I would be lying if I didn't say there were some problems here and there to do with it. So today we're just going to quickly say a few things about it, my own thoughts on it, and what the book means to me by the end of the day. So let's just hop right into it. Now, first things first, for a book that is so advertised by the nerd, it even has the back line there, literally advertising it, saying James Rolfe is an independent filmmaker and creator of the Angry Feeling Nerd web series, and they make majority of that, the text on the back. Yes, this book has almost fuck all to do with Angry Feeling Nerd the character. This book is majority... The book feels like he's doing everything in his power not to talk about Angry Video Game Nerd. Like, James does not want to talk about it. This book does, here and there, reinstate the fact that Angry Video Game Nerd is now more of a thing that he does not want to be associated with anymore, and he's trying to distance himself from. It's weird, but it almost does see that. Like, no joke. Majority of the book is just about, which isn't a problem, but majority of the book is just about him. It's just about him growing up, then him in school, majority him in school, majority him in school. Like, no joke, all the way, and I'm not kidding when I'm saying this, like, all the way till page 200 is when he starts to give information about the Angry Villain itself. Like, 200 pages in, and he literally, it's majority just talking about, which should be, it's an autobiography, but, like, majority, like, I can even show you right here. Like, all the way here to there, that chunk cut off there, is just talking about him in school and how it was in school, the things he would do, the way he saw it, the tragedies that came with the filming he would do of his really rowdy friends in college, and the way he would film them and encourage them to do even more destruction, which caused to a friend of his leaking this to the dean and him getting kicked out. And those parts are tragic and pretty sad, but another thing with Daniel's video that I will say is true is, yeah, the parts about him talking about school are very off. Like, when he talks about him in school, it is almost, and I'm not trying to be mean when I say this, this is an attack, it is almost up his own ass when it comes to it. Every class he talks about, he always replies with, well, I mean, I knew what I was doing, they didn't. Teachers were too harsh, just shut up and let me do what I wanted to do. I'm the only one that's allowed to use a camera, you kids just sit down and do what I want. And I won't lie, like, if I had, like, a kid like him in my class, I'd be super pissed. Like, in the words he said were I learned to stick up for myself. I learned to stick up for myself, and the time I was meant to be a filmmaker, all that would have done was encourage me to stand up for myself too towards him and insist that I get to direct something too. It just ends up going on this double-edged sword where he doesn't seem to understand the shortcomings and a few things he did here and there to other students. So that part is true. It seems very weird, and then when it gets to the point where he talks about how he did with his independent college films and the way people praise them and everything, which I don't doubt people praise them. I've seen those movies. They actually are great. But then he does the whole thing of, yeah, they were amazed, greatest thing ever made. But I ain't got no chick, and then it just devolves into, yeah, I'm successful, but who cares? And I don't know, there's just so much, and this goes throughout the entire book, there seems to be so much pandering towards how he is feeling, and how, almost in a way, he highlights a lot of this book through the eyes of, well, I was the main character of the story. None of these other people I saw mattered. Nobody I ever met mattered. It was just me and my push, and in the end of the day, I made it. Maybe that's a bit too much what I said there, it's just that's how it feels reading those parts. They're not bad parts though. I love the part where he talks about the bond him and the principal at the college, him and the principal had. I love that part. I love the little tribute he gives to him. I love him reflecting on what this was for him, the work he had to do in order to get by when he was dropped from college, things like that. It's not horrible. There's also beauty within the pain. There's really good points mixed with his points of the asshole-ish variety.
He said it! He said it!
There's points here and there that beautifully work, but also tone down. It's almost as if he doesn't understand a majority of what's going on around him. It ends up coming across, if this makes sense to anybody, it comes across a little bit like... It comes across a bit like you're watching Nostalgia Critic's The Wall in a way, but just in a biography form. It's, you know what I mean, like he's seeing all this stuff and he completely misses the mark and completely does not understand what was really happening and just paints it in his own mind, in his own light. Which, you know what, not bad, but it's just, it ends up becoming extremely weird. But enough about that, let's move on to majority of the next points. So like I said before, we literally get up to page 200, and then finally at page 200, he finally talks about Angry Young Nerd. But then, He literally talks about Angry Video Game Nerd. He starts at page 200 talking about Angry Video Game Nerd, and then he stops talking about Angry Video Game Nerd literally 22 pages later. I can show you right here. This, you see these 22 pages? This is how long he gives to discussing Angry Video Game Nerd as a series, as a production, how Angry Video Nerd has been towards his life and stuff like that. And I know there's other pages before this where he very briefly kind of mentions Angry Video Nerd, but every page before this point is him discussing once in a while, rarely, like, oh yeah, and then I had to get this one job, filmed an episode of Angry Video Nerd, but it wasn't called at the time. Anyway, so then the tragedy of my job led to all sorts of horrible things with my boss. And then later on, I got married, and oh yeah, I filmed like more Angry Video Nerd, and my friend Mike told me to keep going with it. Anyways, back to the job. So this job was really bad. Like, the job really drained me. I mean, like, the job I had was soul crushing. Like, that's what it ends up feeling like. Like, before, it's just, maybe I'll mention it, but go back to my life. And then finally, for these 22 pages, he fully discusses what it's like to, alright, we're now doing Angry Video Nerd. This is now my full-time job. This is now what I do for a living. Here we go. And then I'm like, alright, we're getting into it, man. We're getting to, oh, never mind. And then, like, after 22 pages, alright, now let's jump into Angry Video Nerd, the movie, and just, that's it for the rest of the book. Now the rest of the book we'll be discussing the movie, how it was like making the movie, and about how it was like to be a dad, and that becomes the rest of the book. So to give you a crazy comparison, this much is dedicated to discussing his life. That little much I showed you earlier was all discussing Angry Video Nerd, and only this much, only around close to, like, I think 90 pages, or I would say, like, maybe around a clean 100 or something. I don't know, I didn't count, but, and only that much is dedicated to the movie. Like, he does not want to talk about Angry Video Nerd. Majority of this is just his life, and everything else that, let's be honest, people are buying the book for, and people want to know the most for. They want to know all the behind the scenes of what it was like making Angry Video Nerd. They want to know everything, like, whoa, how was it like making each episode? Can we see behind the scenes on each episode? How did you come up with this idea, that idea? Did anything happen between you and Mike during episodes? Was there fights? Was there discussions? Hey, what happened to Bootsy? What happened to Kyle? You know, things like that is what we wanted to know. But all we get are, like, growing up stories with them, and no joke, just the tried and true. Nothing but good vibes, man. That's all we get of them, even in the book. Even in the book, we just get the nothing but good memories. Miss ya. Peace. And that's all we get. And it is a bit shocking. Now, I won't say the parts about the movie's production isn't enjoyable, but the parts about the movie's production is so weird to me. The parts about Chapter 5, the big film, he ends up, oh my god, like, even the book reeks that he had no fun making the movie. In the parts discussing the big film, he does nothing but talk about how the film was hard as shit, no one knew what they were doing, production hell, and I'll be honest, he shows in this book that he didn't know a fucking thing of what to do with the money. There's parts here where he discusses wasting the money on some retarded production guy, on a stupid props man that from the start it was clear he was screwing him over, but he just let it happen because he does not like confrontation. He will not discuss or fight for anything, which is kind of funny for a guy who earlier in this book discussed fighting his teacher to have his way with a movie. When it came to actually for real making a movie, you didn't say shit and you didn't fight that much, and you just kind of let everyone do what they wanted and just kind of threw in the towel. So it's kind of a funny reflection how you start, like, the parts of you growing up, there's so much fire and fight, and then when it comes to your big shot to get a movie, you kind of curl up and cower and kind of just, like, you know, just kind of let what happens happens. All the way to not knowing which places to record in, discussing how bad it is to film in LA, how much LA does nothing but screw you over and trying to milk you for all you're worth, how he did, like, majority, he did nothing but get sad or break down over how hard it was to make this movie. Like, no joke. Even in this part here where it discussed the scene he had to do with the guy who plays the soldier tank man.
Shut them big ass titties. Like to bang that booty like. Stop that.
He just discusses this part while doing that scene. He was literally having a breakdown, not knowing what to do. And then the actor himself had to literally walk up to him and say, "Yo, I played Master Splinter in the show." Where James just replies, "It brought me back to where I was. It awakened the fanboy nerd in me. As Steven coached me, I imagined Splinter saying, 'You must be strong, my son!' And with that, I found the strength to get through my dialogue. If I stumbled a bit, if I looked tired, if my eyes were real and teary, it all worked perfectly because that's exactly how the nerd had to feel in the moment. It was my best performance of the entire film." I'm just gonna leave it at that because that's pretty funny. And like I said before, none of that is an attack. It's just things that intrigued me and points to put against each other on different ways to see it. Like, he has no good things to say about the movie. He literally either discusses it like he just fought in Vietnam, or he discusses it as if it was way too much pressure, leave me alone. And that's what it was. So, it's so weird. It comes across as a very... And I don't want to say this because before I say this, I do not believe this for a second. I do not think James is an egotistical, stuck person. I don't. I've seen how he interacts with fans and stuff. I've seen how he is. He genuinely is a nice guy, but it's just the way he writes in this is like he was this mastermind filmmaker. He was born from the start as this creative genius that was going to change the world with film. And then when he finally gets the chance to make that movie, he ends up writing from this scared little kid's perspective where he knows nothing about what to do here. And I just thought it was pretty interesting. But I won't lie, the best parts of the book and the parts that really grab you and really interest you are the parts where he discusses being a father. I won't lie, he truly goes hard here. He truly talks about how much struggle it was, the birth April went through, the fights he had to go with himself on, how to deal with the stress of everything going on around him, and how bad the pregnancy was for April, and how he has to be there for his kid, and then the pain his kid went through. It's so emotional, and so really it sucks you into it. It really intrigues you and wants you to hope that they get better in the end, or that things worked out, and it ends up becoming very heart-wrenching, and it's so beautifully well written. The parts where it discusses him being a father are beautiful, they're well done, and you can tell that those are the parts of the book where his passion really lies. His heart's in it, he's flowing through it. And it does prove the fact that I do say is true. He loves being a dad. He loves being a father, he loves being there for April. You can tell from reading this book, like, him and April have a really nice relationship together. They really bond with each other. He cares for her so much, and he cares for his kids, and there's nothing in the world he wouldn't do for them, and it leaves on a soft note. Literally, by the end of the book, I went like, yeah, that was nice. The parts where you discuss about your kids and your relationship-wise are beautifully written. You could tell those were the only parts his heart was really passionate about writing, and the rest was kind of like, just... The rest feels like he's just trying to write this narrative, like if he was writing a based on a true story movie is what it feels like. And then the part about his kids is when he fully just really gets it and he lets it out. So that part's beautiful. That's literally even people who have never heard of Angry Nerd. I recommend you just read the ending parts about him discussing him viewing his life, him viewing his future, thinking about what's to come next, what do I do from here, talking about how much his kids mean to him. Those are the highlights. I recommend just reading those parts, because the rest seem to feel like a quick drive-by where he's just trying to get it through. And that's all I had to say about the Angry Video Nerd book. I won't lie, I do not think it's a bad book. It's way better than lots of books I've read. Biography-wise, seems up to status. It seems on par with biographies that you would read from other people. So, my final verdict, it is not a bad book. Actually, on second thought, it's actually a pretty funny book, and you will be entertained. It's not a bad book. I actually like it. Can I imagine myself reading it again? Yes, but I imagine on my second read-through, I'm going to be skipping a lot of it. I can imagine reading this again, but if I'm honest, I'll just go up to when he starts talking about Angry Nerd, and then so basically from page 200 down, and just read from there. So it's a good book. I will read it again probably one day when I feel like it, but only from page 200 down. And yeah, that's all I had to say about the book. This was literally nothing more than just... This wasn't a deep dive or serious analysis or a hit piece or anything. This was just a fan who found a book that he thought was interesting and just wanted to share with you his thoughts of it. That's all this was, just a really quick, brief review on what I thought of the book. I really hope you guys enjoyed. And with this, yeah, I can't imagine any more discussions of Angry Video Nerd going on after this. So, I guess it's time to say goodbye to Angry Video Nerd. Hey, Nerd, I'd like to thank you for all the work you've made and all the stuff you've done, and I guess this is it. See you, man. Goodbye. Did you just fucking combust into thin air?